What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Happy 420, everybody. If you have weed, feel free to pack your pipe, roll your joint, smoke your blunt, whatever it is. Just take the day. It's a Saturday. Take the day and enjoy it. Relax. There's some UFC fights on today. If you're into that, you can watch it on ESPN Plus. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to smoke a bunch of weed. Hopefully, I'll get some edibles. It's very difficult. So on this 420, in addition to smoking during the show, I'm going to talk about kind of my early days, talk about weed for a bit. I didn't get into weed till my 30s, my early 30s. Girlfriend at the time smoked a little weed, and I had been kind of getting, mentally getting into smoking. I used to be super anti-weed growing up. But then Doug Benson, there was a documentary where he got, stopped smoking weed. Super High Me is what it was called. And so watching Joe Rogan's podcast and just following him. Also, Adam Scorgi produced a documentary called The Union, the business behind getting high. So all that kind of exposed the propaganda of weed and why it's been so stigmatized for so many years and how that all started. Highly recommend, if you are looking for some weed-related entertainment, I would highly recommend checking out The Union, the business behind getting high. I would recommend The Culture High, which is the follow-up documentary by Adam Scorgi about weed. Then Super High Me, maybe watch that. Watch some Joe Rogan Experience podcasts. I don't know. Watch Getting Dug with High if you want to watch. There's a bunch of movies I don't know if you're aware of that I don't know if you watch them high, but it makes it better sometimes. Sometimes weed makes things better. Sometimes I don't know if you've heard that. I don't know if you know. Food sometimes better when you're smoking weed. Sex sometimes better when you're high as fuck. Fucking comedy shows, movies, all kinds of things. Doing the dishes, doing the laundry, doing any painting is a lot of fun. Podcasting sometimes. With the short-term memory loss, sometimes podcasting and weed don't really mix. But what are you going to do, So how I smoke now, I just smoke joints. I have my pipe. I used to have bongs. I had the big, fancy, super NASA bongs. I had all that stuff. I started in my 30s, kind of had to fit in all of the stereotypical weed stuff that you do, while you're in college. But I was never I'm not the tie-dye kind of stoner. I like the new hippie. Ari Shaffir just did a podcast with Tim Ferriss, which is an amazing podcast. I've been following Tim Ferriss forever, read a bunch of his books. And Ari calls him the new hippie, and I agree with that because it's a different, it's trying to stigmatize weed and have better role models, give it a better appearance. Although Tim is more as far as psychedelics and MDMA for medical purposes, not necessarily weed. But still, Joe Rogan, huge proponent and somebody who works his ass off and is very successful, but also known for getting high a lot. So I finally got into it. Smoked, pretty much got high before I did an Earth Day episode of the Inspired Disorder podcast. Very early Inspired Disorder podcast days with Derek and Justin. And we did the podcast over Skype. And I had never had anybody in the room before. I invited my new girlfriend over while I record the show, and decided she brought weed. I asked her to bring weed over, and we got high before recording. Horrible idea, because I had the giggles, which I don't really get anymore unless I get super stoned. But had the giggles, could barely record the podcast. It was tough. It was not a good episode, but I enjoyed it. Getting high and having the giggles, those early days, it was crazy how hard weed hit you in those early days. Then I broke my hand, and while I had a broken hand, I had an edible that I was got from a buddy of mine, and decided to eat half of the edible, where just a little tenth would have been good enough for me. But it wasn't even in a cast yet, my hand. I just had it in like a temporary splint. I got boxer's fracture for punching a wall like an idiot. And I ate half of this brownie, and I was like tripping. At the time, I had a projector projecting on a wall, so my TV screen was giant. And I was watching My Name is Earl, and it's like Technicolor. Everything super Technicolor, almost like coming out like 3D. It was crazy. To be that high on an edible early on in your weed journey is that is a monumental task to kind of overcome. But I've always enjoyed edibles, and I like it for being that kind of I take them knowing I'm about to go on a mental roller coaster, and it's going to be for one relaxing, the most relaxing. I love stretching when I'm on an edible. Some of the best going to watch intense movies like Free Solo or not Captain Ron, Captain Phillips, like any kind of suspense movie. Watch it on an edible, man. That's gonna ramp it up so much more. And then the first comedy show I saw at a comedy club was at the Comedy Store La Jolla. It was a 420 show. I was taking my girlfriend, my roommate at the time, Gus, and then my co-host at the time, Justin. And we were going to the La Jolla Comedy Store. We were going to go see Ari Shaffir headlining, and then Freddie Lockhart was the middle feature, and then Tony Hinchcliffe opened. And it was just a hilarious night. That's when I found out Hitler's birthday was on 420. Just a hilarious night of comedy. Ari Shaffir, Freddie Lockhart was hilarious. I think my girlfriend's favorite out of the three was Freddie because he talked about his dog. Tony Hinchcliffe, Justin loved Tony Hinchcliffe. He's like, that dude's going to be huge. I mean, we all loved the whole show top to bottom. Ari Shaffir, I was too embarrassed to ask Ari to buy his shirt. My girlfriend did it for me. I think I was in the restroom at the time. But I don't know. Ari was talking to somebody outside, and I don't like interrupting people. It's like if I'm going to meet somebody, I want to meet them under different circumstances. Like I've never waited in line at the end of a Joe Rogan show to shake his hand, even though at the Ice House I've had opportunities. But it's just part of me because I'm shy. I don't really put myself out there and introduce myself. But once I get rolling with somebody and get comfortable with somebody, then I could be more open. But it's just so awkward for me to do that. I abstain and try to live a life that maybe one day I'll meet them at more of an equal playing field of just being people. But yeah, that's what happens, people. But 420 is like my favorite holiday, though. It's like the only holiday I'll celebrate. And there's nothing really you have to do. You don't have to go to a church. You don't have to pray to anything. Just consume some weed. And it's legal now. It's legal now recreationally in a bunch of states. If you're in Denver, where I used to live, boom, amazing weed in Denver. If you're out in the Coachella Valley, boom, all kinds of dispensaries opening up. Get some, anywhere in California, anywhere on the West Coast. It's crazy. And then there's some states where you'll still get thrown in jail. I love to meditate high too. That's another thing I love to do high. It's like before I'm about to do work on something, like if I know I need to get like deep into something, then I'll make sure I get high, and then it's just like it's tunnel vision. It's tunnel vision. If I don't have a focus, then I get distracted and all kinds of different shit happens. But I hope you're having a great 420. Enjoy it. Smoke your weed. Recommend your stuff. Go check out King Palm. I love their slow burning. This is raw cones. Shout out to them also. But that's it. New episodes of this show come out daily. Subscribe on IGTV and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Inspireddisorder.com for all of my artwork. Go buy some artwork. Go buy some paintings. At Ray Taylor for me on all social media. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out!